UFO Reporting Center?
Hi. Have you heard about Missouri yet?
Oh, yes.
Oh, yes.
What did you see?
Oh, shit. The Air Force gave me your number. Whiteman Air Force Base, as a matter of fact, gave me your number.
Okay.
They hovered 300 feet from me and stared at me like I was a zebra in the zoo. Like I was a lion in a cage, you know? An insect in a jar. 3 craft.
Directly overhead?
Directly overhead. I saw their faces looking out the windows at me, man, pointing at me with their fingers. We're not talking about one. We're talking about 3 crafts. There's nothing like this ever happened to me in my life. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
They're shrouded in a cloud of mist. And my body wasn't able to move. I was not able to move. Stood there and they hovered about 300 feet from me, the closest one.
What did they look like? I mean, what did the objects look like?
Cigar shape.
Were these large or small?
Giant. I would say the size of a large jet airliner at a minimum. Okay? But no wings or tails. Cigar shape. There was 3 of them flying in formation side by side. When they stopped over me, the closest one to me raised up so that the next one to him could lower down, so the next one to him could lower down, so that the rows of windows going down the side, all of the, be it however you want to phrase them, people, creatures, whatever, could all see me very plainly. Stood there and looked at me and tilted and cocked their heads and pointed like I was an exhibition in a zoo.
What did those occupants look like?
You couldn't tell. The light from inside the craft was so bright, shining out the windows, that all you could tell was all I could tell. I should say you could tell. All I could tell. I mean, I'm telling you right now, buddy, I'm sitting here not knowing what the hell to think. The heads were human-shaped. You could tell that there was eyes in the head. You could tell that the eyes were large. There was no visual appearances of hair or ears, from what I could see. But the light was so bright, emanating from inside this craft, that they looked like they were bald with no ears, but there was no way to really tell. But they were definitely had a human head shape. They definitely had a human-shaped body. They definitely stood behind these windows and pointed at me. And these crafts had, they looked like a jet airliner with no wings and tail, okay? On the back of them, they had pods that resembled the same kind of pods that would be on the back of like a 727 or something, okay?
Okay.
Except that they had a green glob of light that was mounted to the top of these pods. That it wasn't real bright, but it glowed. Then out of the back of these pods, where would normally come on a jet like as we know it, where would come the exhaust, was lights that were identical to what would be headlights of a car. That's what it really looked like, okay? That's what it looked like, was headlights of a car. They were shrouded in a cloud of mist. When they hovered in the air to stare at me, it was like I was on visual show at a zoo. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And you could see these rows of windows going down the side, and they were identical, just virtually identical to the rows of windows that you would see on an airliner. And there was beings behind each one of these windows. They were looking at me and pointing. And I could have seen their faces and their features very clearly. If it wouldn't have been for the fact that the light was so intensely bright coming from inside the aircraft. They made no noise. Absolutely none. They were no more. The closest one, the first one that raised up higher than the other 2 so that the other 2 could raise in stair steps so that the occupants in the windows could see me, was no more than 250, 300 feet from me. My body could not move. I wanted to scream for my girlfriend, my sister-in-law, my mother, and my brother, and the 7 children that were in the house. Come look, too. I was not able to move. I tried to scream. The minute they ceased with looking at me, so to speak, and started to move off without making a sound, and there was no change in these lights that were shining out from behind them. They were just like headlights in fog, okay?
Okay.
They were shrouded in mist. They started moving out across the lake at the 51-mile marker here in mid-Missouri. Brother and I jumped in my car then and drove to the top of the hill as these things were going over the lake and on their way out of sight. The sky is totally clear here. There's not a cloud in the sky to speak of. None, okay? These things were clouded in a shroud of mist. 3 of them. Cigar-shaped, pods on the end of them, green glows on the top, shining headlights out the back of these pods, just like headlights in the fog of a car. I'm standing on top of the hill with my binoculars, looking for them to come back. People are passing me going, "You saw it too." I'm going, "Yeah, I saw it too. What did you see?" And I told them what I saw. I called Whiteman Air Force Base. They gave me your number. Who else has reported this? Am I nuts or what's going on out here?
No, what time did you see it?
God, I don't know. At about 9 o'clock.
Okay.
I don't know, man. I lost all track of time. I lost all track of anything like that. I mean, I was so immersed in what was happening here. The last thing I was going to worry about was looking at a goddamn clock. But 2 people that stopped to talk to me, who live in the same area of the Ozarks that I do and live on the lake here with me, they stopped and they saw me standing on top of the hill in the dark, standing on top of my car with binoculars. They stopped and go, "You saw it too, didn't you?" They rolled down the windows of the pickup truck and go, "You saw it too." And I said, "Yeah, I saw it." And they go, "What did you see?" I said, 3 cigar-shaped aircraft hovering in a mist of fog. No noise. They said, "That's exactly what we saw. We saw it cross over Highway 7. We pulled off our car, our truck, off the side of the road, shut off our motor, shut off our headlights, got out with our cameras. And you know what really bugged me about it? They told me they were unable to remove the lens caps off their camera." And that was the only thing.
Do you know those people?
Yeah, I do know them personally. They're my neighbors. I don't know them personally. We live in the Lake of the Ozarks where a lot of people are vacationers. They come down here only on the weekends during the summer. Lake of the Ozarks, I don't know where you're from. Where the hell's 206 area code?
Washington.
Okay. I don't know these people. I've never met them before personally. They are full-timers here like we are.
Okay.
We're in an area. Lake of the Ozarks is 110 miles long. We got 1,400 some odd miles of shoreline. It's the vacation capital of the Midwest. So a lot of people, they retire and they live down here. This was a retired couple. A lot of people, they're only down here on weekends during the warm months, okay? These people live down here. They stopped and got out and tried to photograph it. And the only thing that really bugged me out, what they said was, they go, "But we couldn't get the lenses off our camera." Why couldn't they? Now, this really bugged me because I'm going to tell you what, buddy. Whatever these 3 things were, and I'm not necessarily a believer in Jesus, and I ain't necessarily a believer in UFOs, but I'll tell you what, I saw 3 things as big as jet airliners hover 300 feet above my head atop the trees here in the woods around my house. And they hovered there without a sound in a cloud of mist, and as they stopped dead, the mist thinned out enough that I could see that there was windows going down the side of these things. You know what? It gave me the idea like a Carnival cruise or something, you know? And these things were looking at me out the windows in all 3 crafts. I was like on display all of a sudden.
Did you hear any sound?
No sound. Not a sound. And none of us that saw it down here, and I've got quite a few witnesses, not necessarily just people that are in my household and my family around here, but other witnesses that all live in these houses around here. There's a bunch of us that saw it. And I called Whiteman, and they told me their phone was ringing off the wall. And they even accepted my collect call about it to hear what I had to say. I called and I said, "Hey," I said, "I don't know if they know what's going on, but operator," I said, "you tell them this is a collect call from a person who just had, although this sounds movish, a close encounter of the second kind." And they accepted my collect call and talked to me, transferred me to some big shot up there at Whiteman Air Force Base at the radar.
Okay.
And he goes, "Yeah," he says, "our phone's ringing off the wall from Kansas City to Camdenton." Now, I live about 20 miles as the bird flies out of Camdenton.
Okay, when these craft took off, did the mist reappear around them?
It never left them.
Okay.
It was like continuously there.
What color was that mist?
Like fog.
Like white, off-white?
Yeah,
Okay.
gray white.
Okay.
It's night. We have no moon. It was grayish white.
Okay.
But when I'm standing outside in my driveway, looking out across the lake, it was really weird. It was like something told me, "Turn around." And my body all of a sudden reverts around, and as it does, I look up in the sky, and just like out of the movie, like a poltergeist or something, man. I mean, this isn't even real. I don't know how I can even talk to you about this, but I got to talk to somebody. This cloud of mist, steam, fog, whatever you want to call it, just comes rolling up over the tops of the trees, and it's so thick and so low that it's engulfing the top of the tree limbs. And I'm looking at it, and as I look at it, I see these 3 things that look like car headlights in a row. They're facing due west, but they're moving east. And I'm going, what the hell? There's no cars up there that can be doing that. And all of a sudden, they cease to move. And when they cease to move, the fog began to thin.
Okay.
As the fog thinned, you could see lights, you could see the shape, you could see these craft. Now, I don't know what color they were, but they appeared in the dark sky at this time. And the reason I say I think they were dark green is because these lights shining out the back of them were so bright that they illuminated the mist, okay? The fog or whatever.
Yes.
The fog gave the appearance that these craft were a dark green color, but they could have been dark blue, they could have been dark, they weren't dark, they could have, but they were a dark color. They were undoubtedly, beyond any shadow of a doubt, they were cigar-shaped. There was no cockpit windows as cockpit windows would be in a jet as we know it. The only windows went down the side like an airliner's windows. And then there was pods on the back that really resembled pods that a jet engine would have on the back of like a 727 or something.
Okay.
And on top of them, there was a round circle of green glowing light, not real intensely bright, but glowing emerald green. Obviously like some kind of a round dome-shaped projectile that sat on top of the made light. Now out of the back of these pods, now the pods were pointed on the front. And if the mist was enough, I can't describe the exact appearance of them, but they looked more or less like they were pointed on the front. I couldn't see a dark spot in the front of them like an air intake, as a jet engine as we know it. But the back of them was definitely flat as far as I could see because this beam of light came out that looked just like a headlight in the fog of an automobile. There was no tails on them. There was no wings. They made no noise. And whatever was on board was peeking out the windows like people looking out the windows of a bus. You know what I'm saying?
Did you have a chance to count the number of those lighted openings?
Well, there again, I couldn't move my body. I couldn't even. I'm 20 feet from a plate glass window, a picture window, from where everybody was sitting here watching TV. I wasn't, for some reason, and this is what scares me the most, or what's got me upset the most, is I wasn't able to scream to anybody in the house. My body froze dead still. I wasn't able to move. As these things hovered there, dead still in the air, I couldn't move until they started to move away. When they started to move away, then all of a sudden I could move again. There was at least, to give you a minimum, 15, 20 is minimum.
Okay.
I'd say 30 is maximum. Windows down the side, directly resembling portal windows of a jetliner. But to be honest with you, I'm so upset from the situation, I can't tell you if they were square around.
Okay.
And the light was coming out of them so brightly that it would be hard to tell you if they were square or round. There was an incredible light coming out of the inside of the thing. But the light undoubtedly showed the fact that there was beings, creatures, whatever you want to term it, behind each and every window, looking out and pointing. So, I mean, there were several of them that were pointing at me. Like I was an exhibit at the zoo. An aquarium. And they stopped their dead end, and what really got me was the way they hovered into a stair-step position. The closest one moved up, the middle one moved down a little, and the one on the farthest from me moved down even yet to where it damn near touched the treetops here. Now we're talking this craft was 6 feet over the trees, and its mist was covering, engulfing the trees on top of the hill above me. 200 feet, 300 feet above me.
Okay.
And they moved down